Hey buds, Flop here, Community Manager for Southfield, and I come bearing some pretty important news. Despite our best efforts, we've had to come to the very difficult decision of not releasing Southfield on June 24th. Obviously, this is not something we were expecting to have to do at this late stage, and we do want to unpack some of the reasons why we've had to come to this decision with you all today. So, strap in. This might get a little bit technical. Here's why we delayed our launch, what we learnt from closed beta, and how we've been implementing your feedback so far. On reviewing feedback from our closed beta, one of the main takeaways related to performance. A lot of the comments that I was seeing were to do with FPS drops and lag. I've always said that one of our top priorities is optimization, and that's still very true, but what I haven't done with you yet is deep dive into some of the reasons why we've been seeing those performance issues and what we've been doing to fix them. So we're gonna start there. Imagine you're chopping down a tree in Southfield. There's a point where that tree turns into a bunch of resources, into logs. It's at that moment where the game engine is doing a lot of different tasks to make that work, and that's what's putting a strain on performance. Those logs have to come from somewhere. Originally, every single individual log was being created in the precise moment where you finish chopping down the tree, and that's not great for performance. Our solution is to use something called object pooling, which would mean in this scenario that those logs exist before you even start chopping the tree. Applying this to all resources, object pooling would mean that wherever you are in Southfield, within a certain radius of your bud, all of those resources already exist, they've been pre-created, and they're ready to be harvested at the drop of a hat. And we do need to get object pooling right at this stage so that in the future, when we're introducing new systems, we know it's rock solid and reliable. We have already made significant progress on this, but we want it to be in a place like that's good. We want to be happy with it. And right now it's just not in a place where we're fully satisfied. For us, the impact on performance that this can have is just too significant. We're concerned that it's going to have a detrimental impact on how you experience our game, and we want you to enjoy Southfield, right? So bottom line is we need more development time, which ties on nicely to the next reason why we are delaying the early access launch. At the time we set our release date, we had very high hopes for this solution, and to be fair, we still fully believe that this is the way forward. This is how it's gonna work. What we didn't anticipate was how complex it would be and how many problems might crop up in the process of implementing this system. So, in the process of adding this object pooling, minor bugs have evolved into more complex issues. To get all these bugs ironed out and object pooling working well, in the time we have remaining to us, would probably compromise the well-being of our team, and we're just not willing to put our team under that kind of pressure. We need to change our plan so that we can safeguard our devs, and ultimately that has meant changing the release date. We're still working on the finer details of this plan, date to be confirmed, but as soon as we can tell you something, we will. And as a publishing team, we need to find the right date to launch Southfield to give it the best chance of doing well. When we figured all this out, we will announce the new date via all the usual channels, Discord, Steam, and our social media. But every cloud has a silver lining, right? So the more time we have to get this stuff right, the better the experience will be for our players, and that's a big motivation in this decision. Speaking of our players, we have read through all of the feedback you sent us during closed beta, and we kind of also want to take this opportunity to walk you through some of the changes we've been able to implement as a result. The three main areas of your feedback focused on performance, which obviously we've discussed, control, and UI. The latter we've managed to do a complete overhaul, improving readability and functionality for just a smoother user experience. An example of this is the changes to the recipes interface. You can now see how many resources are required, how many you have, and quickly identify if you're running low. You also said you wanted rolling around to just feel better. We've heard your need for speed and increased how fast Bud can roll, as well as given you more control of your movement when in the air. We've managed to reduce FPS drops when flicking through tools and items on your hotbar. And the weird thing as well, where you couldn't just swap the places of two items in your inventory, we fixed that too. We've also bound controls so that drop item isn't on the same button as interact, so you won't accidentally drop your tools anymore. And we heard you when you said collecting seed bags was a faff. So now individual seed bags group into one big seed bag. And to further reduce time spent picking things up, we've added a sucking in maneuver to the scythe, so you can quickly hoover up crops while you harvest. Tools also now last a little bit longer based on your feedback that the durability was a touch on the low side, but our upgrade system will allow you to create longer lasting tools as well as more efficient ones. Southfield is a pretty big place with lots to explore, but sometimes finding your way back to a point of interest proved a little bit difficult. We've addressed this with flagpoles, ways for you to leave a marker that will show on your compass, allowing you to return to interesting locations or find your way back home in a breeze. Speaking of home, we're also making improvements to build mode. And while it's not yet been tutorialized, you can now quickly remove placed items using left trigger, so you won't need to exit build mode just to whack something with an axe if you want to replace it somewhere new. The seed maker will only make noise when it is also making seeds. We've improved sound effects across all machines, so hopefully your home will be a little bit more peaceful now. And as promised, we've added more music. The Ruffians have their own song now, and there are more tracks to come. We couldn't have done this without all your help and all of the feedback you provided during our closed beta. You're helping us grow our game, and for that we cannot thank you enough. We know that some of the news that we've had to share today will be disappointing to many of you. We are disappointed as well, but we're also deeply committed to bringing you the absolute best game we can. The journey might be taking quite an unexpected turn, but we are endlessly grateful for those journeying with us. Thank you for your patience and your understanding as we navigate this new and unexpected path towards early access. And as always, stay wibbly.